So as a kid, I always had adults tell me I was a good arguer, and I always thought that was just like a roundabout way for people to call me a bitch. So I never took that as a compliment. I didn't think that arguing was a skill until one day I won an argument that I should not have won. I was wrong, the odds were stacked against me, but I still won. And I'm like, there might be a little something in this. This might be a talent. So here's that argument. So I am a biology major, and I was in an environmental science class, and we were going over the case study, the notorious case study of the reintroduction of gray wolves into Yellowstone National Park. So real quick summary for those of you who don't know, in 1995, gray wolves were reintroduced into Yellowstone Park after the elk population had just gone through the roof, and they were just eating too much vegetation, which was causing all kinds of erosion throughout the area. It was causing too much of a competition for food, so other herbivores were forced to leave. So the elk had just kind of taken over the park, and the ecosystem was failing. And this case study is so popular because it correlates the reintroduction of the gray wolves to the stabilizing of the river. Because once the gray wolves were reintroduced, the elk population went back down, all kinds of vegetation came back up, which allowed for more roots in the soil to keep riverbanks in place and just prevent erosion. It also lessened the competition on vegetation and allowed a lot of other herbivores to come back, and it really set the whole ecosystem back into balance. It was a wildly successful environmental experiment that really showed us the importance of each species and how if a species is over or underpopulated, it can cause this cascade of events that can really make or break an ecosystem. So, time for the argument. So everyone was broken up into groups and given a different position. I don't remember all of them, but there was argue from the position of a taxpayer or a park ranger, or the government or a farmer, and you had to justify why you thought the wolves would be a good idea or not and argue from your standpoint based on your position. This girl in my group immediately starts just making a list of we know the wolves are a good idea because, and starts listing all the things that we know in hindsight because it was, like I said, wildly successful. And I was like, hang on a minute, we're supposed to be arguing from the standpoint of the government. When has the government ever given a shit about the environment to greenlight something like that on the first go around? No, we're gonna argue, we're gonna say no, the wolves are a bad idea. My group was not about it. They're like, that's too hard. And I'm like, oh, well, I kind of want the challenge. So I went to my professor and asked if I could argue by myself. She said it was okay. But the thing is, the winner gets extra bonus points on their test. So she's like, if you win, your group won't get extra bonus points. It's just going to be you. And I said, say less. I don't know these people. So the day comes where we're presenting all of our arguments. I was the very last one. Every single group ahead of me argued about why the wolves are such a good idea. I mean, of course, what kind of idiot would argue that the wolves are a bad idea when we know it was phenomenal? Are you kidding? Me. I'll argue that the wolves are a bad idea. I'll do it because I'm not scared. And you know what? I won the debate. It was supposed to be 5 bonus points, but my professor gave me 10 because I argued in opposition, and I won on something that I was completely and entirely wrong about. There are literal decades of research and observation explaining why my standpoint was wrong, and I still convinced all the little losers that the wolves would be a bad idea. So if you want to argue with me, good luck. You're gonna need it.